Hi, I'm Helen from Heritage Garden Seeds, and today I'm going to show you how to sow your Wasabina seeds. So Wasabina is also known as wasabi greens, and whilst it's not a true wasabi, it will give you that nice peppery kick without being too overpowering. So it is now August and we are at that late summer stage. So this is the perfect time to sow our Wasabina seeds. They do prefer cooler temperatures, so you can sow them now and that will take us into autumn, and then you can resow again in the spring before it gets too warm. So you can either direct sow your Wasabina. If you're direct sowing, then make sure your growing area is weed free. Make a shallow drill in the soil and then lightly scatter your seeds along the length of that drill, backfill with soil, and then make sure your area is well watered. Or you can sow in modules. So I'm using these module trays. Now I'm going to sow around 5 to 7 seeds per cell, and that will give me lots of nice bushy plants and lots of nice baby leaves. So I am going to sow half of this tray with the Wasabina seeds, and then I'm going to keep the other half for a different seed variety just to maximise space. So all I'm going to do is make a little dimple into each cell. So I've filled the cells with compost, and as I was putting the compost in, I've just rubbed it between my hands just to remove any large clumps and break those down. So make a little drill into each cell like so. And then we're just going to sow around 5 to 7 seeds per cell. Obviously, if you want to grow larger plants, you can sow less seeds, so don't feel like you have to sow as many as me, but 5 to 7 is a nice amount just for some nice bushy little plants. Now don't overthink it. If you sow a couple more or a couple less, it's absolutely fine. It's just a guideline. It is not an exact science. And then I'm just going to cover those with a thin layer of compost and then give those a light water. So I'm going to pop these into a well-ventilated greenhouse, but if you don't have a greenhouse, pop them somewhere sunny and sheltered. And your seeds should germinate within around 2 weeks. So then we're going to grow those on where they are in the modules for a few weeks so that they can develop their root system and put on some nice healthy growth. And when your plants reach around 5 centimeters tall and have a few sets of true leaves, then we can look to transplant those into their final growing positions. So if you're going to transplant your plants into the ground, then obviously make sure your growing area is weed free, and then you want to space your plants around 15 to 20 centimeters apart. You may prefer to grow your plants in containers or even in a polytunnel or greenhouse as the temperatures cool down. So Wasabina is a hardy plant. It is quite resilient and it does prefer cooler temperatures, but it's not going to be very happy in a frost. So if you are planting your plants into the ground, then as the temperatures drop, just keep an eye on them and they will benefit from some protection in the form of a fleece or a cloche. And if you're going to sow your Wasabina seeds successionally over the next couple of months, obviously just keep an eye on the temperatures, because later sowings are going to be better if you grow them under cover. So if the weather stays on our side, then we could be harvesting baby Wasabina leaves in as little as 3 weeks. And we're just going to cut those in a cut and come again style. And if you want larger plants, just allow your plants to grow that little bit more and then just harvest your leaves as required. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me.